and then why don't I know my own set? We'll just go with it. Good luck. I love my little setup. I wrote outlines in different colours, so I'm pink and you're blue, just to remember where you're at.
I feel like a storyteller on series for some reason.
Just
the vibe that I'm getting. Yeah, I can start. So this is a new piece that I wrote, and it's called Envy of Verona, part 1. There's 2 parts to the poem, but I'm just going to perform part 1 today. And yeah, we'll talk about it after I perform, because it's quite special. I muse in her delicate hues, like comparing succulent summer fruits. Tangerine to strawberry, blueberry to cherry. Waves upon waves of spilt turmeric in milky clouds across the Milky Way. Her artistry spreads like the cotton candy I used to eat every day. I blush at her blossom pink cheeks, gasp as a chill electrocutes my spine at her arctic icy hues. My heart explodes gazing at those fiery fever feuds. Violently, I am engulfed, and it is peaceful. By day, I am a warrior, goddess of war. But when she emerges before the night, she brings out the dust storms of Mars, and his attack brings me back down to earth. I collapse and surrender before the battle commences. Temporary ruler she may be, but she rules the earth and its natural land with its man-made borders. Everyone admires her equally, respects her as the sovereignty. How can we deny the greatness of golden Egyptian yellow floating in the ether? Her frenzy, the anarchy of her mind is echoed in the color clash. Multiple shades all meshed on the palette. She changes with the tide of the everyday, and with it her mood. Yet we pay no mind because to us, her mess is perfection. Its beauty, its authenticity. Breathtaking she remains in all her extremes. How is it she instantly shatters my barriers, telling me it's okay to rest, to be, to exist? Everyone loves her unquestionably. Seep into my emerging sleep, reminding me that I am here at this moment on earth. This is my signal. What a delicate, fleeting power to be had. Sometimes I desire to be her, to be loved and awaited, to be the one who provides sweet relief after a long day, to be equally appreciated in all of my extremes, to give even the most callous of beings a reason to look up and surrender to love, joy, and peace. Thank you.
Who is she?
Oh,
Can we
I was
find
actually
out?
more...
Are you going to tell us, or is it a secret?
So, I mean, she is the sun. Like, I tend to personify, things in the universe, or, things I talk about, because I don't just like to refer to, something as a thing. Yeah. I like to think of it as a person. I was actually, it's quite a good question, because actually I was thinking about how to present the sun, because initially it was the way I wanted to write the poem was I want to be the sun. I wonder what that would be like. I would love to be a sunset. But then I started thinking of the sun as a person, and how people tend to compare themselves. I want to be this person. But for me, it's I want to be the sunset.
Oh, it's so amazing that you've said that, because as you were reading, and I was thinking, at first I was taken away by the beautiful words and the imagery that you were creating. The word succulent is one of my favourites, and it's
I love it.
Yeah. And but it was when you spoke about the mess of her perfection and how we love it, then I was like, are you talking about the earth? Mm. So the fact that you were talking about the sun is amazing. I was like, wow, I I received the natural imagery that you're creating. I'm going to try something a bit different. I'm going to pass the mic around to everyone. And if you feel like saying something, you can. But if you don't feel like saying something, just pass it on to the next person.
Okay.
A line that stood out to me was man-made borders. And initially I was thinking of it from like, I suppose like a more, like somewhat like a person, I suppose, until like you do hear like the clearer references to nature. And so I was wondering if there is any sort of like crossover between like the world, like things that people claim as their own, and like from a natural perspective, but then also in terms of how dynamics and relationships, I suppose, play out amongst people as well.
I mean, the way I kind of approached it was like, because I was writing about the sunset and how like it's the same wherever you are in the world, like you can see it. And even though it's like really far away from us, we all we share it, you know, and like similar to the land, like we share the land as well. And like I've always had this thought, like, you know, like the natural world is just there, and then we put concepts on it, and it's concepts that are based on people creating differences between themselves. So like I always refer to borders as man-made, because you can't literally see a border, can you, on a bit of land? And people will fight over land, and it's like, you know, for what? Like, it's mind-blowing to me, because like we're all gonna die, and like you're like, sorry, but the land is not gonna matter. And I get like right here, right now, it's important for identity and things like that, but like this like line that you draw on a map is not gonna influence you in that kind of way, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Thank you. That was so beautiful, Nyla. I think I'm still trying to formulate my question. But you were saying, like you were thinking that you are the sun, but at times like it felt like a comparison, and you were saying that a bit in the beginning. Do you feel like it was you comparing yourself to some of those qualities, or were you taking those on, like feeling inspired by that, and like being that, or more of like a reflection of where you are? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it was more of like a desire to be accepted, because like the way I wrote about the sunset in this poem was like, it's messy and it looks different every night, and it's always like a different color, but we always appreciate it. And like to us, it's always beautiful. And like, imagine if we thought about human beings in that way as well. Because like, you know, I'm not the same every day. Like my moods change all the time. And yeah, I think for me, it was just like, I wish someone would accept me the way that we accept things in nature, and like how, even though like maybe it's imperfect, but it's still beautiful to us.
Awesome.
So much poetry to everything you say. Just the poem carries on, not a lot. But.
Yeah, I've got a question. What I loved about that, before you said anything about the sun, I did notice that there was a lot of imagery in terms of colours. So it was obviously prisms and things like that. But also like the idea of like, you know, things are concepts, and you're right, like there's the idea of like countries is an illusion. It's like it's something that we've imposed upon us, and somehow kind of we've imprisoned ourselves in it. So now we need passports to go somewhere. When before, like the world is just given and you just go and explore. Like you go into like a forest and get fruit, or go to an orchard and get something. But now like things are fenced off, and we've created barriers between each other, and now we have to ask for permission to get something that is technically free.
Yeah.
And stuff, and things like, you know, third world, first world. You know, one side of the world has more than the other, and really it's like it's supposed to be for everyone, and it's like just disproportionate. So I love that. Thanks.
That reminds me of like there was something on Twitter like years ago of like someone like a Republican saying, oh, like how is race associated with climate change? And someone responded saying, like, I don't remember where it was in the US, but it was like an area where there's like a huge black population, and the government cut down all the trees around that area because it was growing fruit, and they didn't want people to have access to free fruit. So it's just crazy.
Another thing I've
Wow.
Being able to have climate control in the same way because the temperature can't be regulated because there's not as much shade and there are massive implications. So that's, it's great that you've brought that up. There you go.
Can I, is it okay to add a comment?
Yeah,
or are
you
you
guys
going
can
back?
talk, you guys can talk to each other because you've got mics, so you can.
I think I loved, was it your comment about saying it felt strange to have the sun being referred as feminine? To say like the sun is normally viewed as masculine, I suppose. I don't know if it's the case in English, because in French it's also gendered, it's like the sun is masculine. But I feel like you, just to make it more poetic, you cross the border of language by, I think, linking the sun and the earth in your poem. So I feel like that's where we're all like sitting, and then it might feel strange, but it feel quite soothing and comforting at the same time. So I just love that. There's no question there, it's just a comment.
So I got the double barrel question, so one a bit more deeper, because we just hit the point now, important point of nationalism about creating these artificial borders, and you've linked that now as, you know, the unfairness within that and like the kind of like the mess, but the mess that needs to be cleaned up with sort of within ourselves, because, you know, we've divided the world and it hasn't really got into a very sustainable place now. My question would be, with all these national borders that are around the world and what people claim to be ours, how would you see an alternative? Like, how would that look like for you, you know, compared to that, like an alternative? How would you envision that, let's say? And since we're all established the sun now, I want to know this. So you've got a blue star, you got a red giant, and you got our yellow sun, the medium star, and you got like a white dwarf. What's your favorite star?
Oh, oh, that question.
So, can you repeat the first question?
What's an alternative to the system that we already have of nationalism? How would you envisage that?
Deep.
That's such a big question. It's messy because like the world we live in is very messy and people have so many different opinions about what a good political system looks like. For me, like, I don't think it needs to be that complicated. Like, as Meta was saying, like, with this whole passport thing, it's like, you can't go here and you can't go there, and some passports are stronger than others. Whereas before, like, people would just go to other lands and they would, like, learn about other cultures and stuff and trade and whatever. And it was just so much more simpler then, and now it's like, I think the whole thing is driven by competition. And when you think about things like climate change, it's only going to get worse because people are going to compete for resources and stuff. So then that's going to drive up nationalism even more. So I don't think I have a solution per se, but I think it's too complicated and it doesn't need to be complicated. Like, I think a simple system will be better. Yeah.
I don't know if you'd say like the communities are going stronger. Like, we need to have smaller communities to like be able to handle the environment as well. So.
Like local stuff.
There's very much like a every man for themselves mentality. I think whether it was like COVID being sort of like the catalyst for that, but it's definitely reinforced this idea of like, I always think back to when we were younger, and if ever I went to Grenada, like my family, me, my mum, my sister went to Grenada, our neighbours, just before we came back, would put like basics in our fridge, like milk, eggs, bread. And like, that was just like, it was the norm. And I also think about when I do go to Grenada, my uncle who lives in the countryside like there, when I last went, which was in 2021, we came back after being out for the day and there was just like a bag of what we call provisions, so things like plantain, like breadfruit, really kind of like staple things just in a bag. And I said, oh, who's left this for you? And he said, oh, I don't know, like it's probably just like one of the neighbours, and when I have extra, I'll give back. And that's just the mentality of like an island. And because I suppose, especially in like, you know, big countries, US, UK, Australia, we've been forced into this like every man for themselves mentality. And it feels like it's such a ways away from like reprising those kind of like communal, supportive sort of like foundations which help like communities to like thrive and to go back to. I completely agree. It is very simple. Like when you have surplus, share, and like that just has to be like how we all. There's more than enough. Like even with, you know, the women who went to space. The other day, like everyone's up in arms, you know, and thinking about the money that it costs to do that and what that money could have done for people across the globe, you know.
Deep. Could write a poem about that.
And to answer your second question,
Your favourite star?
my favourite star is the sun.
Because it's the central, it's the core of our system.
But yeah, I also wanted to add, so this poem took me 2 years to write. The reason it's called Envy of Verona is because it was inspired by the sunset that I saw in Verona, which is like my favourite city in Italy. And it was just like literally the most stunning sunset I'd ever seen. And I wanted to write a poem about it, and I went home and my paper was just blank. And it was like that for 2 years. But only recently, everything just came to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's that thing where, especially with nature, when you want to write a poem, you need to experience it first, so you need to let it sit with you, and then it comes out like quite naturally.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll repeat. I think it's interesting that you say it took you 2 years to write, because immediately as you said that, I thought of the process of growing. Plants don't grow overnight, things don't happen overnight, and the way that the sun feeds the life on Earth is through a growing process, and ultimately that trickles down to us. And, you know, the animals eat the plants and we eat the animals and the plants. But the fact that it took 2 years to percolate and to grow inside you, to then be shared and passed on, is it reflects the poem that you've written. I love that. So another thing that I did think, does anyone want to share what the poem made them feel, or a word that came to them whilst Nyla was reading? I'm going to pass the mic along again.
I really resonated with a line that you said about the perfect messiness about it, because you know, we as human beings, we have this concept of what perfect actually is, and it's just this. It's so arbitrary, it's so like man-made, and as time goes, the fashions change as well, not just superficially how we look, but you know how we behave as well. This idea of perfectionism is always changing, right? So it's not exactly. You could say there's not really much truth in it, right? But the way that things are, it just is. And it takes a simple mind, I think, just to sort of gauge that and to be content with that. And I think it goes into the other points we're talking about, where we're talking how can we actually live in a really conducive society where there is actually enough for everybody, we can all be fulfilled, we can all be fulfilled, we can all build meaningful relationships with each other, and you know, back to the world gives to us, and live this really, you could even say a perfect symbiotic relationship, you know, between us and nature, not dividing, right? And it actually is that simple, but it's the mind that's really simple. You know what I mean? Like these complex problems that we have, like mental health, basically mental health in all its, you know, in what it all encapsulates, right? And things that people go through. Yeah, I do think like these really complex problems, these complexes that we have, it takes a simple mind to actually really look at it, you know, to come to a solution. But that's what it basically, I think, it did that to me, I'll say.
Thank you so much to everyone in the audience who participated, and thank you, Nyla, for opening today's session with that beautiful piece. So now can we have a massive round of applause for George?
Hi, everyone.
And George, when you're ready, please
Let me get my page right.
begin your poem.
My battered copy of my Crossword lyric. I'd like to plug, if I'm allowed, give the context to that first piece. I read it at Nyla's book launch of Venus in Exile, so I just wanted to share it, because it has the word Venus in it, so I thought I needed to mention it. I think it was the first time I performed it as well. I was like at book launch. So it's a bilingual poem, so it'll be in French and in English, so we have an idea. If you have an idea what I'm talking about. Just for the French one. And I was telling Nyla, I reworked the original piece and the translation on my way here. So is quite new and unstructured, and I've kind of been moving about because I'm also experiencing with free translation. Don't know if anyone speaks more than one language or different languages. Don't know if you ever, like when you work on translations, it's quite hard to find the right meaning. So hopefully by reading the piece you'll get it. So I'll start with a French one. It's called Nous ne nous reverrons plus sur Vénus. Aphrodite a brûlé. Voilà notre paradis en cendres. Rejoins-moi, ma douce, viens. Allons nous balader dans les limbes de notre amour. On est bien là, sous les décombres, dans la chaleur de la capitale, à écouter Angèle chanter « Bruxelles, je t'aime », notre dernière lune de miel, dans la ville qui nous a vus naître. On est bien là, dans l'obscurité d'un baiser, nos corps dévoilés. On est bien là, dans l'intimité d'un regard, nos cœurs délivrés. On est bien là, à nager dans les plaisirs d'hier et les rêves de demain, à incanter des poèmes, à vivre, à revivre, chanson après rupture. Aphrodite a brûlé. Regarde-moi une dernière fois, ma douce, puis va. Va et ne te retourne pas. Et ne t'inquiète pas. Je serai bien là, au creux de nos souvenirs, dans ce royaume où ton absence est reine. Partout où j'irai, je serai bien. J'aurai encore des traces de ton amour sur la joue. So that's the French version for you. Any words that you picked up, I'd love to know like how it felt. So I know the English version for you to have an idea. It's a poem about heartbreak and loss. So the English translation is, on Venus we parted. Aphrodite has burned our ship, my love, has drowned the remnants of our honeymoon. And yet, we are at peace inside her ocean, her sapphic waves cradling our broken hearts. Let her wash all the grief off your lips, my love. Let us bask in the shadow of a kiss, in the sweet nectar of worship. Let us dance in the rubbles as she watches over our dreams, my love. Let's hide in the heat of this Belgian night. Let's set the capital on fire as we listen to song after lamentation, after rupture. Let me stay inside our shipwreck, my love, just a while longer. Let me crown her, Aphrodite, in your absence. Let me become her priestess again, so I may burn for her, so I may march with her holy love as my armor. Thank you. Oh, felt weird reading the English version. Love. We write a lot about love, don't we?
That was incredibly beautiful, George. Thank you. It's really interesting because I don't speak another language. I have the other language other than English I speak the most is French, ironically.
Right, okay.
And when I say that, I mean I know nothing of any other language. In French, I know little bits.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting for me to listen to the first French reading and then the English reading, because from the words that I picked up on the first one, I thought it was a declaration of love and beauty and optimistic. And I thought it ended with "don't worry."
Yeah.
Whereas
No,
with
thank
the
you.
English version, as soon as I heard the word burn, which I don't know in French, I was like, oh, wow, this is the opposite of what I thought it was. This is a tragic story. But then, that said, at the end, the tragedy seemed to not be there. So it was really, thank you for reading it in both languages. It was a real treat.
Something I noticed I did was that the French version has a lot of fire, whereas the English version has a lot of water in it. Like, there's no ship in the French version. I chose that, which is why I was saying, like, free translation is quite interesting, because you tap into the quality of each language, like English, quite musical as well. So it's interesting that you picked up on that.
Yeah, that is really interesting. Yeah, very. I like that, yeah. So I'm going to pass the mic around again, and feel free to share any feelings, words that came up, or any questions if you have any.
Thank you, George, so much for sharing. That was really beautiful. And Lisa, everything you've said is what I was going to say, because I speak a little bit of French, and I also thought it was more about love with the first reading. So that was really interesting, what you've just said. And yeah, with the free translation, because I didn't pick up a word about a shipwreck. But it was so beautiful. Do you want to share a bit more about where the poem has come from? Or
I think I was trying to remember the first time I wrote it. Oh, I forgot to say it's quite an old piece, and there's something about reworking old pieces. So interesting. Like I wanted to change more, because now it's like also something I went through, that heartbreak, but it was years ago, and now there's more. Like I write it with a lot of peace, which is why you said like you feel that it's still about love. Like writing about loss with a sense of gratitude is something that I explored a lot with this poem, and it's so strange. Like I can't describe it. It's the way I read it as well. People say like I read it in a very romantic way, even though it's a tragedy as well. So I think the fact that I reworked it for Scratch That changed the dynamic again, so made it even more peaceful. And it's very therapeutic. Like I love the process of rereading it. And even the time I performed it at your book launch, I think I remember feeling at peace. Like there's almost a sense of detachment from it. So yeah, don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, that's where I was.
Yeah, I think similar, like the hearing it in French, you think like there's the optimistic side of love. So it's like interesting to hear the translated version, and as you said, like how each language kind of like highlights different types of emotions. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, it's really beautiful, George. I missed the French version, sadly, so I don't have a comparison. But I've heard you perform
You've heard it,
in French many times, and I'm not, I have a little grasp of French, but I wouldn't proclaim to be fluent. So, but I've always found it really interesting how I'm still drawn in, even when I don't understand the words, and I have a sense of what it's about. But listening to people talk about the comparison, like the first version sounded like it landed in quite an optimistic way. But for me, even listening to the English version, even though it was tragic and there was sadness there, it's like the way you delivered it, that optimism in loss and still feeling gratitude for the experience and seeing something beautiful in it, even though the words were sad. Yeah, so I thought it was really beautiful.
Something that makes me think of a quote have you heard of John O'Donoghue, the Irish priest and poet, who said, let me see if I could retrieve the quote, "If only we were as hospitable to darkness as we are to light." So I think it's the idea of treating grief as an opportunity to grow as well. So if you accept grief as something that you need as a human, to grow, that it makes the experience more, I can't find the right word. More enriched. Yeah, sorry.
There's something about, I've heard people talking about actually when you're feeling real grief, like whether it's the end of a relationship or a death or whatever it might be, it's actually sometimes helpful to reframe it and think, God, that is actually an indication or an expression of love, how much love you had for that thing or that person or whatever it is that you've lost. The intensity of the grief you feel, is kind of an indication of how significant it was. So yeah, anyway, that's a whole other thing.
You. Are you a poet?
I'm a big fan of both pieces. I think the funny thing about translations is like, it's one poem, but again, they're both individual. They're basically two poems. And I literally just got this as Michelle was speaking. Is like, the way that you wrote about love, obviously between two people, I loved that it was tender, and I loved the romantic vocabulary that was used. But also I just loved the idea of maybe not just this poem, but some other love poems I've heard that are kind of on this grandiose scale, is that love's also isolating in a way, in that you two are both in this thing that no one else knows about, no one else can experience, but also when you are without the other person, that isolation is amplified tenfold, and I really love that. And also like the idea, because I've written a similar piece about love, but about, you know, being each other's safe harbor. So the idea of like love as a ship, or love cradled in the waves, that really reminded me of that piece I wrote. So I just really love the imagery as well. And yeah, they're both two powerful pieces, and I can't wait to edit it so that I can hear it again, especially the French. I need you to like give me the French like transcript so I can put that on the screen. I would love to just see that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I loved it. So you know me, I love poetry. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I just think everything just sounds so much smooth in French, you know, like when you did that. Yeah, just getting through the discussions now, one thing that came up with me is like, it feels, because the way that you depicted tragedy, you know, really sort of intense sort of pain, you could say, but there's a beauty to it. It's kind of like, okay, we're human beings, and we have this like a range of emotions that, you know, from birth to death we're going to experience, right? And that all together, I feel is quite beautiful. Like, you can't appreciate the sun, as we just heard earlier today.
Love the sun.
The sun without, you know, the darkness. You can't appreciate the light without the dark. Same in here, right? We love, you know, the human condition is such that we try and stay away from pain, and we move towards pleasure, right? But the two come in together, you know what I mean? There's this duality, I think, that we sort of face when we live in this experience, right? And we have to just appreciate both as they come. So yeah, that's one thing that I got here. I think you mentioned, so for me, I don't really speak that much French. I do speak other languages, but if I do say I speak French, I always follow up with a caveat, on peut, very on peut. When you were saying the French version, I think that I understood like about a couple of words. They said, écoute, like listen to, écoute, chanter, like listen to enchantly or something like that. I don't know if I got it completely right, but.
Oh yes, écoutez Angèle chanter Bruxelles, je t'aime. So it's a song by a Belgian singer called Angèle.
Okay.
And she's a native of Brussels, and like the story in that poem is in Brussels. So yeah, that was that line.
All right. Okay. And I know you said that you found it, well, let's say interesting to actually translate the English to the French. Can you go through the process actually on that? Like, how hard really was it? And, you know, like, yeah, just what was going on in your mind doing that?
It's hard to describe. I know I don't know if it's called free translation, like the aim when I try to translate pieces is to translate the emotion instead of the words themselves, which is why I also get quite, like I play with images and elements, like the fact that I switch from fire to water, because that's what English feels like to me, like it's very fluid, whereas French is quite settled. I don't know if you have the same experience as well as English speakers, but it's just, I know that I also write differently in both languages, so it's always a case of finding my voice through each language, but keeping the main emotion, like the heart of the poem. I don't know if that described it well, but it's tricky, but it's quite freeing, because I feel like poetry has this power already, like it liberates us, it allows us to explore. I think it's also quite experimental already, so doing that with translation is also quite an interesting thing, but it's difficult.
It makes a lot of sense. I think they say as well, like when people speak one language, they change to another. Like your personality in a way sort of changes as well. Your expressions, your body language, it kind of all changes because, you know, it's not just the words. It's a whole different culture with their different experiences, right? And how they view the world in their bit. And you literally portraying that in there. So no, I 100% agree with you. It's like in Punjabi. So I speak Punjabi, not 100% fluently, but enough. And there's a sassiness to it. There's an attitude towards it. And that's why a lot of people who are brought up, you know, how I am British, we kind of struggle with that because we don't have that sort of, you know, that attitude towards it, that sarky sort of, you know, thing in them. You know, we were very much like, it's a bit more plain, but yeah, I do get what you're saying.
Oh, wow, that's so interesting. Thank you for sharing.
I love hearing like the French and English versions because it's the same poem, but it's two different versions of the same poem. So if I feel like I got to see like two different sides of you as well, because like as you were saying, like with the language, like people's like personality can change and like be different. So I feel like I saw two different sides of the same coin almost. But what I love about like I don't understand French, so I'm just gonna tell you what I liked about the English translation. But I love the part about like the shipwreck, because like if like the way that you said the poem was so like peaceful and so soothing, but you had all these bits of imagery in there that was like a bit darker, and it was almost like, yeah, there's all this chaos and darkness happening, but you're almost like okay with it in a way, or like almost accepting of it, like just kind of letting it happen, which I really liked.
I feel there's also something that I realised is the ending of the French version, I'm addressing the lover, whereas in the English version, I'm addressing Aphrodite as a symbol, to say that no matter how many times you go through heartbreak, your love is like a wellspring that you tap into that you can keep using. That was just absolutely poetic. It's also something that I heard about, what was it? When you love someone, it's not because of them, it's because you have the ability to love. So that's something that's, what's the word, intrinsic. What's the word?
Intrinsic?
Intrinsic to your experience. All the love poets would agree to. So yeah, like that I shifted, like English allowed me to shift my perspective, because now like I feel more open. It's like it's more of a, it's like a love poem to love itself, if you will. So yeah, well thanks for that insight.
I, for one, can say the reason why English feels like water to you is because it's always raining in England. But on that point, like, I wonder why. But on that point of language and the two different, like the French poem, it's the French you as well. And then the English poem is the English you. And I noticed that your French, like the voice that you were speaking in French is at a lower register, and it's in a more bassy region, whereas your English is in a higher region, which occurs more diagonal to my ears. So it's interesting that you say that the French feels more grounded, because I can hear that, like because the French is swimming lower and the English is up higher. It's almost as if that the French one, it felt more peaceful, like a kind of nostalgic, bittersweet kind of thing. And it's also interesting as well because when you were reading it, it sounded like you were saying a myth almost. You know, like an ancient Greek kind of myth, like
Aphrodite.
And I think, because I heard Aphrodite, exactly, I was thinking like kind of ancient epic, and that's where I was. And then it was only afterwards when you kind of brought it back to the fact that it was your experience. I was like, oh yeah, you wrote this, you've lived this. Whereas like it felt so timeless and so classic.
That's so interesting you should say that, because it's also, there's a reference to Sappho, the lesbian poet.
And then also
poet.
the chanson après chanson. I was like, it's really timeless kind of thing. So great.
Wow. Thank you for your insight, that's amazing.
This does not have a title, sorry. So if anyone can suggest a title, that would be great.
Well, for now it can be Untitled.
Untitled. We're going into a more political route.
Can we get a massive round of applause, please?
At some point you must swallow your pride, march outside and right the wrongs your parents speak of at the dinner table. I know you sit there deflecting words that come from paper and pretend you are a rock, not a sponge. Still, words have meaning. They don't just cut into the dining table. They stab skin the colour of ink outside a mosque, a refuge, a food bank, a job centre. Nan says the most racist things. Well, what do you want me to do about that? She was probably the woman who spat at my mother in the 80s as she walked down Camden High Street carrying 2 young babies. Your silence validates her. Your silence complies with the opinions you supposedly despise. They are not opinions, it's just hatred. Why must I speak for myself all the time? Do not question me on my principles. My entire existence is a protest. I was born into resistance. This is just who I am. My brownness is enough. The sun has spoken. Now go outside if you're brave enough to face the light. I suggest you try and stand between a coloured child and a police officer and realise that you were born as a shield. You are a repellent because the police would never spill white blood. Your words cut corporates deeper than their actions when they claim that they are making the workplace very diverse and inclusive. But still, it is we who must assimilate into their culture. It is we who must repeat ourselves, saying that history is repeating itself like broken newsreaders stuck on same headlines. I guess if it cannot be seen, it cannot be heard, it must not exist in your world. No, it very much exists in your world. You just don't see the Daily Mail, the Sun, the sensationalism of a billion broken, scattered brain cells trying to function, and in the process think we are to blame for their failures and flaws. The articles saying that we are the cause of this country going down the toilet when it was a piece of shit to begin with. You aggravate me with your naivety, shocked at the atrocity of being threatened by the bourgeoisie, shocked at the riots, at little girls being murdered when we all saw this coming. Aggression starts with microaggression. The being barged into, spat at on the street, the subtle headlines saying swarms of refugees as if they are insects. The constant derogatory, defamatory language which is so subtle, so integrated into the way this country speaks, the way they move with their feet. You don't notice it, but I always did. People take a beat for demanding peace in the Middle East. Who knows, maybe now you'll scratch your head and ask, is it us who is the beast? It can't possibly be. You think you are the saviours, you got that from the BBC. Now you think you're just an observer. Maybe you should start reading The Observer. It'll show you how you've never gone further than standing about being a bystander, by standing for yourself and no one else. The difference between the far right and a bystander is that I am clear where one of them stands with me. Because you all talk on your Instagram feeds, but why do you stop short of marching on the street? Why do you stop short of boycotting, brainstorming, educating, creating, replacing a system you claim you want to defeat? Why does it take one more of us being killed a bit too harshly for you to realise that it's always been there, never truly gone?
Wow, I feel like after that piece, we need to just be present for a minute. That was powerful, very, very powerful. And you brought up so much pain, but in a powerful way. Mm-hmm. You addressed directly the oppressor and the person who has been brutalizing thousands, millions of people all throughout history. And I think you did it in such an eloquent and powerful way. And it was a pleasure to experience. So thank you for that. It's really interesting as well, as you performed, I noticed a similarity between your first poem and your second poem, in the sense that in the first poem, who is she? And in this poem, who is you? You find a character, you find a person, and you address them directly. It's like, in the first poem, you saw her and you looked her in her eye and you fully described her and understood her and you became her and she was you and you were her. And in this poem, there was a very clear delineation between you and them, or the you and us. And you looked them in the eye and you told them off, rightly so. And my favourite line from the piece was, "The sun has spoken now. Go outside if you're brave enough to face the light." And it was that direct line between the first poem and the second.
I didn't actually realise that until you said it.
Yeah, it was, and you know how you said in the first poem, you said, "Oh, I was writing about myself as the sun." And in this poem, you fully embody that sun. That most enlightened and powerful version of yourself is that sun in a blazing and brilliant light. Yeah. And I thought it was really powerful, so thank you for that.
Yeah, so thoughts that came to me actually is like when we talk about nature, like how you did in the last poem, about the sun, etc., and the, being content with oneself, right? Which is quite a personal thing, and then we go into political stuff. It just made me think these things are actually, they're all one of the same, really. You know what I mean? We can't really, they're not just isolated things just on their own, I don't think, you know what I mean? Because it feels now, these problems we're talking about politically, like, who is the problem? Who is the establishment? In the end of the day, it's human beings, right? And who is part of nature? Who is nature part of human beings? We're all that. So the problem seems to be an internal thing. That's what I got from, these poems that we're doing now. When you were speaking, there was one event actually which I remembered. It was a little while ago, it was a few years back. So I'm Sikh and we're currently celebrating Vaisakhi now. And a few years ago and I was talking to these two guys who are British, as far as they know, their roots are here. And we're talking about how in the old days when the Indian people came in, like in the 1950s, 60s, etc., how hard it was, you just mentioned how hard it was, like you're literally walking down a street trying to create a life for yourself, right? The amount of, put it mildly, even the backlash you'll get, just for being you. For example, it wasn't unheard of kids being kidnapped, put in the car, being driven to High Wycombe or whatever from London, and then just, being, you make your own way now, that was very common, these very common things happened. And then just seeing people being quite dismissive of all that, saying comments like, people, it's just, we've evolved now, that was sort of in the past, we've evolved now, and you can sort of understand it, as how people respond to things when they're not familiar with things, and I was like, it's these sort of things like, you can't argue, but it's like, do we not want to understand, other people's pain, right? So that reminded me of that, it's like I can't even really speak to you sort of now because we're in completely different planets, or there's a lack of trying to acknowledge, okay, cool, how we can actually move forward because we're not really seeing the past properly.
Yep.
So that got me there, and there'll be other things as well. Again, let it marinate.
Yeah, I'll respond to what you just said now because I have so many things like going on in my mind. The poem about my mum, the line about my mum, like that was real. Like she would just get spat at, like decades ago. Like people would just spit at her, and like she couldn't do anything about it. And like my uncles and my aunts, they all have stories about like just awful things happening to them as soon as they stepped out on the street. And like I feel very lucky. I feel very privileged. And I remember we just had this big family discussion. I think it was like on Eid. Like we all just sat in the living room. We talked about like they started talking about what it was like to grow up as kids in this country, which was eye-opening because they never talked about that stuff before. They just kind of like buried it within themselves and like just moved on. So like hearing my mum and my uncles talk about what they went through, it was just mind-blowing because I can walk outside and like I'll be fine. I am not always fine, but like it wasn't as bad as how they had it growing up. So I do feel lucky in that sense. But you're right, like it's not over. Like this stuff is still happening to people. Like I don't know if you guys have seen, but recently, like a South Asian man, like an elderly man, was killed in a park by 2 white teenagers, and he died from his wounds in hospital. And like he was 80 years old, and he spent most of his life here, and that's how he died. It just I don't even want to talk. I don't even want to like read more about what happened to him because I just will not sleep at night. Like it's just can't think about it.
I think just one last point. I think one problem we got now. So back in then, it was very overt. You know what I mean? Like you literally, if you were to go out, you just had to accept. I'm going to have to fight.
Yep.
Because people aren't going to back down. Now we're in this stage now where we talk about microaggressions, and we're in the stage of microaggressions now under the radar. And it's a point now of, it's not so blunt that someone's coming to attack me. It's like, hold on, mate, I don't know what your intentions are. Like, did you really mean that? And it actually stays with you for like almost like the whole day.
Yeah,
It's
it
like,
does.
did the person, okay, are they acting out of ignorance? Did they really mean that? Or are they trying to like hint or something, like really put a venom in it? It's not enough for me to say, okay, where this person stands. And that's actually quite crippling as well. It's more of like a mental battle in that way.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's where we're fighting for now. And obviously a lot of the key, and where people are over is behind the keyboard now.
Yes,
You
yeah.
realise. That's when people are really over. Yeah, so I think that's our kind of, that's what we're trying to combat now, I think, you know, and all these things, yeah.
It's almost like you're saying that the dystopia is here. The dystopian government that they've wanted us to live in is our current reality. And how do you feel about that?
The way I see it is like history always repeats itself, and like that's what I say in the poem. Because like the stuff that we're seeing now is like, I used to read about this in a textbook about Nazi Germany, like what the hell is going on? But I think, like, for example, with that, like it was defeated in the end. And there's always going to be this cycle of, there's a generation that tries to cause trouble, but there's also a generation that will defeat that and overcome that. And it's inspiring to like for me, I like to learn about history. I like to learn about like immigrants, like who came to this country and like people before me and like the legacy that they left, because that inspires me and that keeps me going. And like if they could defeat something that was so big and like it, you know, they had it really bad. Like they had a lot to fight, and that gives me hope, you know. And hope is like the most important thing. And having like spaces like this, like a safe space, a community where people can come and discuss things freely and share ideas, like that really inspires me as well. So yeah, even though like maybe it's a bit doom and gloom out there, but it's important to think about the bigger picture and like not to get caught up in the news and the internet and what people are saying, because in my opinion, that is a small minority of people, and I don't actually think most people are like that. Yeah, I'm off Twitter. Like I left that shit a long time ago. And I curate my spaces, my online spaces very carefully, and surround myself with people who inspire me.
Yeah, thanks for that. And to the point that you were mentioning earlier, kind of between the three of you, you spoke about microaggressions, and that stood out to me in your poem as well. And again, percolating on this question, who is you? And I see you as the thing that is racism. And we live in a UK that they said, under the court of law, is not racist. And you're calling bullshit on that, and you're saying, you're calling out this thing which is a reality, and it is here.
Yeah.
And you're saying, yeah, you know, the enemy is still here and it does still exist, and I won't be gaslighted out of that reality and the reality that was lived by my own family members who still walk this earth today.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. It was really powerful and thought-provoking. There were so many powerful lines in it. There was one that I think it was sort of halfway through about, it was something like scratch your head, check if you're the beast or something. Can you?
Is it us who is the beast?
Is it us who is the beast? Yeah. Yeah, that really landed. I was curious, because I agree with Lisa, like the way you delivered it and the way you read it was so eloquent, and you just seemed so calm as you were reading it. And I was sort of listening to it thinking, goodness, like, is there part of you that wanted to express anger while you were reading it?
I'm so glad you asked this. I genuinely, like, when I first started performing, I would watch people and they would just project their voice and they would like do this and that, and I was like, wow, that's so great. I want to try that. And then I would get up on there and I just did not have the energy for that. Even sitting here now, like I just don't have the energy to project my voice. And I've accepted that I'm a soft-spoken person, but that doesn't mean I'm not angry. And I think you don't have to sound angry to be angry, you know? People have this image of anger, of like someone getting really red in the face and like yelling and screaming. For me, like my anger is my quietness. And like I physically cannot project my voice like louder than it is now, I just can't.
But your poetry does.
Yeah, so I let the word speak for itself. And I kind of made that my image, to be like a soft-spoken poet, but to deliver powerful lines. I don't think a poet has to project their voice to be heard. Yeah.
No, and I agree. And I actually, my experience of listening to you is that it was more powerful for the fact that you were able to deliver it in that way. But I was curious listening to it, God, if I were reading this, I would have found it quite difficult not to have gone into my expression of anger. So, but I thought the way you delivered it was really powerful. And I was also wondering, listening to you speak about your family, is it something you've read to them?
No, it's such a sticky topic to talk about. Even like just having a general conversation, like it's quite difficult to raise. Yeah.
Thank you. It was really, really powerful to listen to it. So thank you for sharing it.
Same, I think I can only echo what everyone else has already said in terms of like the message and the pause for like reflection, especially people of colour and their experiences and generations before us, and the privilege that we have. And even still, though, the difficulties that we do face, like going out into the world as people of colour. So, thank you.
Thank you, Nyla. I have a question, because I'm not a poet or I've never performed, and listening to you talk about your mum's experience, but you not necessarily having shared this poem with them, do you feel like every time you perform it, in a way, you're taking back power like for her or for your family? Or I would just be interested to like understand how it feels to perform it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in a way I do feel like I'm taking back power. Especially like this person or people that I'm addressing. Because for me, like so in this poem I'm addressing bystanders specifically, because no one ever talks about them. We talk about the people doing like the bad things, but we don't talk about the people who are silent about that. And for me, like it feels worse almost when people just let things happen. So I do feel like I'm taking back my power from them and their silence and making it into words or like into noise. Yeah.
Thank you so much so far, Nyla. And do you know what? I've decided I'm just going to completely allow myself to lean into the side of myself that just like loves analysing poetry and things like that. And again, I'm going to make a comparison between your first piece and your second piece, because similarly to how I said to you, George, where in your poetry we experienced the French version of you and the English version of you, through your poetry we're seeing two sides of you, we're seeing two sides of the sun. And in the first poem, we experienced the softness and the splendour and the warmth of the sun. And in this poem, I felt like we experienced the hard hand of her retribution, because the sun can gently warm, but also the sun can burn. So a title suggestion for you is The Revenge of the Sun.
Oh, nice.
We are back for part 2 of Scratch That with the amazing George and Nyla. So, George is going to open our second act with their piece.
Let's go. I have no idea how I'm going to introduce it. Right, I'll see if I can say as little as possible. So it's a piece called The Myth of the Blade, and it's probably the most difficult, longest project I'll ever overtake, because it's a novel I'm writing at the moment. And it's basically, I feel like the poem is like the central piece, is basically the vision I have for the novel. So I'll see if I can read it well. It's inspired, I've got to say, by The Myth of the Blaze by George Oppen. It was published, I think, in the 70s. Another George! And it's a war poem. The Myth of the Blade, written by a very cherished character in this novel called Aimé, which means loved in French. The Myth of the Blade. Myself at war with my other, estranged from truth. I lost my reflection in the river, red with the blood of my other brother enemy, soul nemesis. The blade was not meant to travel this far inside you. A kernel burning, a white flag torn inside out. The blade was never meant to go this far away from the mother land, seducing me. I feel guilty for missing her warm skin, treacherous, the blade, made soft against my olive trees, whistle amidst the concert of spirits, consumed, departed, snatched away. I promised you freedom, what I could never give. See how the landscape of your crumbling body still rings, with flowers, 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 are blooming again, poppies on deserted pavements. Crimson eyes watching us gather our loved ones departed, whistling our names. The lyrics you will scatter across the brilliant gardens of the night sky, while I linger in the destroyed theatre of the war, remembering a boy on a boat, blissfully unaware, yet to become death's ghost limb. Departed, your name, beloved, I will keep singing. Thank you. Oh, these chills performance. Thank you so much.
Ooh, what a piece. It's funny that you did this action because the word that's in my head is haunting. It was a haunted piece, which is also interesting because, again, your first piece was about a lover past, and this piece felt like that as well. And it brings that kind of, that thing to me of, you know, we talk about people almost being haunted because we keep a piece of every lover that we've experienced. Their ghost stays with us to an extent. And yeah, that really, really came through in that piece. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, we're going to ask our cherished audience member, darling,
Small audience.
did any words or feelings or resonance come to you especially? Or any questions?
Thank you so much for sharing. It was, got chills.
Thank you.
When you started reading, I thought it was talking about one person, and then it moved to two people. But yeah, I mean, just briefly, I would just love to hear more about where the poem comes from. I don't really have a specific question, but it was, just really beautiful, but in a haunting way, of course. Yeah.
This is so interesting that you should mention that, because I can't even explain to people how I'm not sure who my character is talking to. So I'll see if I can try and give more detail. It's a character who experienced war, so experienced the Second World War. He was also involved in the Algerian War, because it's a novel that deals with the impact of colonialism, like the impact France had on Algeria and Madagascar as well. There's a lot going on in that novel. But what I realised is that it's also a novel about a family of people who love each other quite deeply. And there's a sense of, there's like a collective voice and that's why I envision for the novel is that they'll end up talking to each other. And yeah, it's in that piece, I think Im is talking to his brother, because there's the word brother in there. And then he ends up talking about his lover. So it's so interesting that you picked up on that. I don't know if you could say where you sensed that. Is there a line in particular that evoked that?
I'll have to look at the words again in front of me, but not
just picked up on that. That's brilliant. So yeah.
I can tell you read a lot and you have this wider fascination with stories and things that have happened in real life. What draws you to these kind of stories?
I think it draws me back because one of the inspirations for this novel is, I don't know if you've read Ocean Vuong's On Earth, We're Briefly Gorgeous.
I need to.
I haven't read it, but just that title is a poem in itself. Right?
Absolutely. And it's also, I was in that one. I definitely recommend if you like this author. He did an interview with Dua Lipa on YouTube. I think if you look conversation between Dua Lipa and Ocean Vuong, I think it's in that one. And he says that, I think it was his first novel, technically, yeah. And he said he approached it as a poet. So I think it's interesting that you mentioned the idea of, the romanticism, like the romantic element. So I think coming from a background, like maybe I could say like my poetry is love poetry, or romantic poetry maybe. So I'd say like it's the same vision or approach I have for this novel, is to write the romance of war and aggression in order to counterbalance the heaviness of it. Because it's quite a heavy novel as well. It deals with war and destruction and like cultures. And it also kind of bounces well with the piece you read before that. But I feel like approaching it through the lens of poetry is how I also distance myself from it, while giving it credit, like giving it texture as well. So I feel like that piece kind of captures that.
But again, as well, it's that I can really see the thread of who you are, because again, to me, it sounds like an epic. You speak about love and war and aggression, and what Greek myth or, like ancient epic wasn't about war and love. So yeah, your pieces, they have a very timeless and classic countenance to them, and I think it's so special. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Nyla, do you have anything to say?
I literally got chills when I first read this poem.
Thank you so much.
I had to I think I was reading it on my phone when you sent it to me, and I had to put it down and just take a moment before I started reading again.
It's too much.
But yeah, the imagery, I just love the imagery, and the bit about the boy on the boat, I really love that bit. Yeah, it's just, I love it.
Yeah, that line's quite special to me, because to give a bit more context about Amy, and it's something I'm also exploring with, I think they call it historical fiction, which is the idea of rewriting history, imagining what history could have been. So this is something I'm going to explore quite a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, you're doing it already. It's there.
Pretty much a project.
It's there
but
already.
he's not going to meet her straight away. I'm trying not to spoil it too much, because I suppose I'll have to wait for me to actually write it. His mother in that story is the first woman to sail across the Atlantic. So his mother is a sailor. Is it sailor? Is that the word? And he had, from early on, he had a fascination for boats and sailing and water. And I think that in the thread of the story, it influenced his poetry or his role as a poet. So that was quite a good way to kind of write about the background of my character without giving too much away. But yeah, I'm glad that that line resonated with you.
And then before we close this chapter, I'd like to tell you my favourite line. I promised you freedom, what I could never give. And yeah, that's so profound to me. I think it's ironically as well, it comes into that ghost thing, like a ghost, something that you can't capture, something that you can never truly hold, and a promise that can't be kept. And what is love but made up of so many promises? And the thing is, love is inextricably linked with time. And so often we may promise something in the present and not know what the future is going to be, and not know that we're not going to be able to keep that promise. And that is what love is made up of. Love is love in the moment, but we always think that love is forever, but time is constantly changing things. And I think that line really captured that, and that's what it brought to me.
Wow, that's beautiful. I think there's layers to it, because it's about love and history as well, about that, how countries, it's the time about countries seeking independence and freedom, but it also applies to we call it the micro relationships of the novel. So that's why it has different layers, and yeah, glad you picked up on that.
I think something Lisa said that kind of triggered my memory of how I'm fascinated with love, is that love is such a lightning in a bottle kind of thing, where you could try and travel back in time, replicate the factors where two people meet, and it could not work. It might not work because of maybe a small X or a small Y or a small Z. And there's a song that I heard recently, a year ago, And yeah, love is not something that you can earn, but it's something that you, well, the guy's singing it to a girl, but it's something that he can earn, but it's something that she freely gives. So it's something that he could never get in as a being on earth, but the only way he could get it is if she actually freely gave it to that, made a choice to give it to that person. And sometimes I feel like that's what love is. Sometimes it's like two people can meet and they have the best possibility of making it, but it takes one of them to say yes. And most of the time when you try to recreate these ideal conditions, like love is, people try to make love an experiment, but really like it's really just in the moment. You can try and travel back and it might not happen the same way. So that's what makes it even more precious. So that's what I got from Lisa's
You know, like you
feedback.
cracked the novel open. Like that gave me so much inspiration, the way you perceived that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Meta.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, George, for reading that to us. Thank you.
Okay, so my third piece is called Atypical Beauty, but like the A is in brackets. Heartbeats, blood pumps, from my chest to my thighs, thick and strong as tree trunks. They, the sun-kissed lovers, caress each other as I walk. My skin is a gleaming gold cape which the light bounces against, like morning rays kissing the water's edge. I am supple. I ripple gentle courage from my core. I carry generations of my women in this skin lovingly placed around my limbs, colour of concrete like the chestnut trees that butterflies find their home in. My fingers are branches. They grab the wind and thread it onto strings, creating something long-winded, like poetry. Like, my branches are quills, and really I am a forest. I forage for words and etch them onto paper. I graze my rough edges and piece myself into a storybook. But my essence is much softer. My curves run like silk slipping through hands, dips like a vase that's been carved by loving hands. You must put flowers in me too so that you can watch me bloom. No need to water me, for this body is home to a tsunami. My sensations are waterfalls. The sweat on my forehead streams. My irises are placed in lakes. I run rivers on my cheeks, which blend my pools of rubies. I navigate the oceans of myself. How else would I grow? Let the rain leave a glow. This ribcage is a mighty seashell. Hear the waves of my breath. Inhale, exhale. And the anxiety slows to a stop. I am much more than my thoughts. I am generations of scholarly wisdom. I collect all the unused words that never made it out the mouths of the women before me. I set them on fire and launch them at an army. Who would dare to define me? I blend cinnamon and spice and paint my own eyes. The crows shed their feathers and root them into me, assuring that neither of us are symbols of the unlucky. I weather myself, protect my worth from wealth. My rings are the rocks of Jupiter and they make my bones sturdy. I am the home of ancestral worship, for it is I who lift the eyes to the sky and the knees to the ground. It is I who surround myself with mirrors and let myself be the givers of love, of life, and the birth of sunlight.
Meta's reaction. Are you all right?
Because I've got such a bad memory, but I'm going to try and say everything like, okay, I love the idea of like, there's so many things to unpack. So the line about skin and it being a cape, love that. So basically carrying like your culture, your heritage, but also wearing it with pride, and that makes you like bulletproof, or should make you feel strong. And then my rib cage is a shell. Yeah, the Jupiter line. There's so many, but the thing about it is they're not just words that just sound so sick. Even the one with the butterfly, but it's like you have so many ideas condensed into these lines. So like like lions. Also, even oh my god, the foraging of words in the forests. Come on, like words are fruit, like to be plucked. I mean, oh my god, like, yeah. So I mean, there's so many. Yeah, exactly. And I'm actually really blessed to like. When I edit this back, I get to hear it again. I don't have anything. I just want to say all the things. I just want, like me saying this is like me giving you flowers. As the things I caught and the things I have not yet caught. I'm gonna message you like, yeah, I got this line I think this poem is like my favorite of yours tonight. I mean, I do like the ones from your book launch as well. But yeah, this one is just like, wow.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot coming from you.
Yeah, I couldn't really like. I'm gonna unpack it later and I'll message you later.
Okay.
But yeah, I was just like, yeah. Thanks.
It's the way you weave nature into. The way nature. I think it's like something you said at the start, saying I want to be the sunset. But the way nature becomes you in your poem, like your identity is intertwined, to use, like, is it bad pun? Like in the poem, like it becomes you, and it makes you even more, like, you're more authentic for bringing your own nature into the poem by using all these images. I think that's why you got a reaction that was so like pure and organic from Meta. So yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah, again, there is this signature that you have, and it's this powerful, natural voice that comes through in each and every single one of your poems. And the more I hear your poetry, the more familiar I become with that voice. And it's like the power of like a nature goddess. Like in this poem, I was hearing the spirit of the ocean, and you were flitting in between. It was you, and then sometimes it was the ocean. And when you spoke about eyes and the stars and I made you look up, like I was thinking of waves and the moon and the relationship between the two. And then you mentioned Jupiter as well, and it's just, it's this kind of like effervescent, universal, natural voice. And also it makes me think of the kind of essence of Zen, the idea of continuity and all being one, and we are all one. And George, like you said, the kind of sometimes it's you and then sometimes it's the nature. But what you're telling us is that you're both.
Yeah.
And she is you and you are her, and actually it's all one. It's very, very skillfully done. And to get an overview of it, the way that we are this night is very, very special.
It's almost saying there's a thread between your first piece and this piece to say you embody what you were looking for in the first piece.
Oh my God, I didn't
now
think
you have it
about
in this
that.
piece. Yeah, it's quite powerful.
No, I was just going to say, this is why I love Lisa, like, 'cause when she says the stuff that I couldn't say, and then when she said it, I was just like, okay, so...
snatched the mic off me.
No, because I just want to add to that, basically, like, the words, like, the way you said flitting and how it was effervescent. So, like, the way you read that poem, I was like, you're omnipresent. And that's what I kind of got, like, it was like the universe is within you, but you are also the universe at the same time. I didn't say it as nicely as Lisa, but like, like that's what I got. But also like the idea of just like this ancient like power in your DNA that is like not just your culture, but just the universe in you, and you have the power to wield it, but also like, you know that Buddhist philosophy about the drop being an ocean, the ocean is a drop, that kind of thing. Like I got all of that in that poem, and Lisa just like broke it down into what I wanted it to like say. So yeah, big up Lisa.
Sorry, it made me think. Oh, sorry, I don't know if you also wanted to ask questions. Sorry, am I going to you?
Thank you, Nyla. That was so beautiful. I haven't listened to a lot of poetry in my life, but that was really stunning. I don't know how to articulate it properly, but I just really loved how you started with like skin and like outwardly appearance, and then it like went into, not, your outward appearance, and it was just really stunning. And loved the line about you repel with courage. Can't remember the rest, but that was really beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's amazing actually. Like to your point, it's interesting because on the journey of listening to your poem, at first I thought it was like a romantic, slightly erotic piece. And I was thinking, oh, the you is the lover. But then the poem expanded and it like went from like this and then it just, there was a big bang and then it went universal and cosmic and this like, it became a cosmic experience and I was like, oh wow. So it went from voice addressing a lover to spirit of the goddess, of the ocean, of the universe, and I was like, wow.
I'm glad you said that because that was actually the process of writing it. Like initially it was going to be like a self-love poem, but then so I wrote like the first section of this poem in like half an hour, and then I suddenly had like writer's block and I couldn't write anymore, and then I came back to it 2 weeks later, and I wrote the next bit, and then I came back to it the week after, and I wrote the final bit. So it's like I stitched 3 different poems in one, and like my mind kind of evolved with that process. Like I just don't want it to be like a love poem, like self-love poem is turning into something bigger, so I need to let that happen.
Amazing.
Interesting that we picked up on that we felt this kind of expansion as you were reading the poem.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Exactly, and it's really interesting that we all you really brought us into your world with you because we all felt that and came there and like had that experience with you. So yeah, masterfully done. Thank you, Nyla.
I'm so like soaking in your piece as well. I think it is going to be a lovely segue into my third piece.
Yes, definitely.
That's also where we were trying to think about how to connect our pieces and like have similar themes. So, wow. So my third piece is very dear to me. It's a poem about my mother. So just a little tribute to mothers in general, like the mothers in our lives and the mothers we're also learning to be, like our own inner parents, you know. So I think I'll share that because if anyone wants to try it, I think Meta, you probably know what it's called. Do you know is when you pick a word and then you isolate every letter and you write a word with each letter?
Acrostic.
Is it acrostic?
The one that goes down?
Yes.
Acrostic. I need to write it down, sorry. Do you spell it with a Y or an I?
I'm not good at spelling.
I'll just write it down and then check it beside. So if you want to do it, I did it with the word mother, but all the words were in French, so you could do your own version. So M was main divine, which means divine hand. O was oracle, oracle. T was for titan, titan. H was for héroïne, hero. E was for ether, éther. And R was for racine, roots. I think I realised the words in English and in French are the same as well. So if you feel inspired to do the same with the word, feel free to also react at the end and give your own versions. All right, let's start. At the heart of our house, there is a haven. A garden of Eden. Ancestral bees humming. You the swarm. A storm of honey. Sweet nectar I drink endlessly. Can you see, Mother? Our forest in full bloom. Not quite yet. Patience. One day it'll be warm enough and we'll step outside. Only it'll feel like we never left our temple. This new language of yours, hand on my crown, will outlive every season. And you'll teach me the ways of the earth, how to replenish her so she could tend to us. You'll teach me the ways of the sky, how to pray to our Father so he can fill us with light. I'll say, name a flower, and you'll answer, forget-me-not. And I'll laugh. Sorry, I touched the mic. Of course I won't. Of course I'll remember our joys and our sorrows, our epiphanies, great and small. And you'll hold my heart the way you did my newly formed body. And from the dark cave of this ruthless winter I'll sing, soon, soon, spring will come. We'll retrieve all the pink gold from our raspberries, Mother. I, the fruit of your labour. And we'll gather leaves in the woods. We'll smile at the sight of will-o'-the-wisps come to greet us at the root of new beginnings. You'll learn to spell abundance. You'll retrieve an old word for it. Myosotis sylvatica. Bleu que j'aime. And your name on God's tongue will echo inside the eternal embrace of my prayers. This new language of mine, forehead against grass, meaning our love is divine. This life all the brighter for being shared with you. I don't think this poem can end, Mother. It might take me a lifetime to finish it. For now, I'll slip this sky blue petal inside the pocket of your pride. Because for you, Mother, sister, soul friend, for you I'll keep writing. Thank you very much. Each time I read it, I get something.
I think it's very apt that honey is a word that you use in your poetry quite frequently, because that is exactly what your voice sounds like.
Thank you so
Honestly, like your voice oozes. It oozes out. It's luxurious and it's, yeah. I actually wrote down some words that came to me, the sound of your voice. It's sultry, optimistic, victorious, promising and joyful. I will. Sultry, optimistic, victorious, promising and joyful. And what a tribute to who I can only imagine is an incredible, incredible mother. Yeah, it's just wow. And the blue flower, for some reason, that was so present to me. There's something really motherly about the colour blue. And actually, yeah, I think it does go back to almost biblical imagery of the Mary Magdalene image. Yeah. So it was a very true piece, true, pure, loving. The love that courses through that poem was undeniable. And thank you for letting me experience it.
Thank you, George. That was so beautiful. Yeah, it felt like a love letter to your mum, which was really special. But also how it kind of started, mother kind of being the centre of the home, but then transcended to all these other things that she is, because she's not only a mother, which I think was really special. But it was really beautiful. Thank you.
Also, I think it was a tribute to all the mothers in my life. So I feel like, I think you noticed, Nyla, that the endings of both, like the poem I read before that, they're very similar. Like, for you, I'll keep singing, for you, I'll keep writing. I feel like it's probably the idea that a mother or parent is your first experience of love, potentially. And this is how you carry out, or how you love people eventually. It's just a tribute to like the origins of love, you could say. But also love the connection you made with blue being motherly, because it made me think of water again, like the womb and like water being our most primal environment, if you think about it, yeah. So thanks for that. Sorry, Mateo.
I like that. There was a point in the poem, like you kind of like were thanking her for mothering you, and then you kind of mother her back. And then the idea, I love you talked about blue, but I liked pink gold from picking raspberries. I thought that was really cute.
It's actually because also I live with my aunt who is a mother to me, so it was also a poem for her. We have in our back garden a whole, I call it a field because there's so many of them. We have like raspberry plants and we eat so many raspberries in the summer because it's just also
That's
my favourite
so
fruit. So,
wholesome.
yeah.
I love that.
And yeah, the image of pink gold, like it's so rich. It's like if we connect it to nature again, how this is the true currency of the earth, like the fruit of the earth.
Yeah, I kind of like there was the abundance of it. Like you talked about the forest, and funnily enough, Nyla had a poem about it being in the forest as well, and like the idea of like the forest is seen as like something you have to take shelter from, but like really like the forest is like a shelter in itself, and it provides so many things. And I just loved how you were kind of nurturing, like through your love, you're nurturing your mother back, and like it was like a full circle moment.
when you read your poetry, your voice is so prominent to me. And that's why I wrote down the words that came to me from your voice, because it's like the voice that is reading those words. It's you're not just saying the words, you're embodying, and you're embodying the words, you're living the words. So your voice is as much the poetry as the words are. And as you were reading, I was just thinking and experiencing the adult that came from your mother. And I just thought, wow, she must be so proud. And I was just like, it's such a beautiful tribute. Like, imagine, giving birth and raising a child who becomes an adult, and then they become this talented artistic person who can give you this kind of love letter. And you just must have been loved so well throughout your life. And it's so audible in your voice.
Wow.
And it just comes through completely. So yeah, I
Thank you
wrote.
so much for that. I was going to make me emotional.
I wrote, your poetry feels like an exhale, and yeah, like.
Sorry, I'll just leave the room. Thank you so much.
Like when you read it, so you're there. You're just you're at regulation. Like you're so it's so regulated. It's so secure, and like on my brain's going like. It just makes me like your poem sounds like secure attachment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's what. Yeah. So can we have a round of applause for George?
Thank you.
And now I have something which I'm really excited to announce, which is a joint poem.
Yeah.
Surprise!
Oh, sorry, did I ruin the surprise?
I'm so glad.
Did I ruin this? Okay.
No,
Okay, good. I was like, oh, God.
I knew about it.
Okay, cool.
We were cheeky, we just all met it. Well, can we collaborate? Can we just do a piece together?
I like, me, I'm about collaborating. Double or nothing.
So yeah, I'm going to give a bit of context. I can't remember when we thought about that. I think we had the idea from the start that we wanted to have our pieces, connect our pieces in terms of theme, and then we thought, how about we turn it into a conversation and then try to write together. So we'll just hopefully let the poem speak for itself.
Yes. Untitled.
Also untitled, so again, any suggestions, feel free to help us with it. So we'll try and set a scene first. Picture society as a dark room, undefined. Picture a glass wall in the middle.
Two souls on either side wishing to speak to each other, unable to see beyond the fortress of their own minds.
They could be stuck inside the glass, and still they would not question the difference between life and death.
But what is life when death is not presented as a concept? Who are we when we treat our days as limitless and our capabilities as limited?
I am a poet, but I am tied to society's silences.
I am faith, but I am tied down to the institution.
I am an open mind, but I am tongue-tied into being narrow-minded.
I am nature, but I am tied to concrete jungles.
I am creation, but I am tied to destruction.
I am Mother Earth's healing properties, but I am tied to society's illnesses.
I am colour, but I am tied to black and white.
I am OCD,
ADHD,
BAME,
LGBT,
the abbreviations that society gives me.
but their weaknesses are my strength.
We are more than what they see.
We are liberty, destined for creativity.
Born to tend to Mother Earth, but tied down to the rules of society and patriarchy.
We are nomads with purpose, made to feel no purpose.
We are glory, we are goodness, turned into despair and forced to consume.
We are the voice of a single poem, and we break free by singing our truths as sisters.
We are an open conversation. We are poetry's divine message of unity and peace.
Now, picture the glass wall, whistling, losing its integrity.
The cracks widening, star-shaped openings.
Two souls on either side, working together to break it.
quote.
And we want to share quotes after that.
And because I love this life, I know I shall love death as well. The child cries out when from the right breast the mother takes it away. In the very next moment to find the left one, it's consolation.
And a quote I'd like to share from the poet Baudelaire, Charles Baudelaire. C'est la mort qui console, hélas, et qui fait vivre. C'est le but de la vie et le seul espoir, qui comme un élixir nous monte et nous enivre et nous donne le cœur de marcher jusqu'au soir. And this is my free translation. It is death that consoles us, alas, and that fuels life. Our ultimate goal, our companion, our angel of hope, elevating us, an elixir intoxicating our hearts and giving us enough courage to walk into the night. Thank you very much. Wow, the momentum just came as we did the piece
Yeah, it
as
did.
well. That was so interesting. Thank you.
Oh, and I should have said the quote was by Tagore, one of my favourite poets.
I need to read him more. I love his work.
I'm actually like, I felt like really emotional listening to that.
Thank you.
Your relationship is so beautiful, and that just came across. I don't want to call it rare. I don't want to say that this kind of beautiful sisterhood is rare, you know? But it's just experiencing that, yeah. It was amazing how in each reading, so much of your personality came through. I feel like over the course of this evening, I've had the privilege of getting to know you guys. I feel like, you know, I can see the threads of who you are, your personality, your individualities. Of course, only a piece of your spectrums, but your voice and your identity was undeniable in each of the lines that you read. Yet they interwove so well together. And you've just got this it's so beautiful and supportive and collaborative. And this incredible piece that you produced together is just a testament to your incredible relationship, and it's just such a beauty to witness, and I just wish this for everyone.
Thank you. That was so lovely.
So much love.
That was so good. Yeah, I don't have the right words. I don't know how to articulate, but it's almost like what you were saying had this like negative undertone, like the comparisons you're making, but like none of the like phrases you were saying were optimistic, but somehow because you were doing it together in this way, and then the glass breaking at the end, it felt really positive and beautiful, even though what you were saying was actually really not. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that was so cool to witness. Really, really awesome.
I think it connected so well to, I'm trying to remember the thread, your second piece, the political piece.
Yes.
And it's about how a lot of your poetry is to say there's violence and there's oppression, but the silence is just as bad, or it just aggravates the situation. So it's that kind of the idea behind the poem, that we were thinking about how do we work at having better conversations and like speaking up about things. And the image of the glass breaking was just like kind of the process we went through as we wrote it as well. So that was just beautiful. Sorry, I lost track of what I was saying.
Say what you want to say.
I mean, for us writing it, I felt like we just bounced off each other naturally.
True.
It was weird because I felt like we had the same stream of thought and it just came together. It was chaotic when we were first writing it, but when we like went away,
I had no idea.
and then we came back and looked at the draft, we're like, oh, okay, this is making a lot more sense now. Yeah.
I remember the feeling of being stuck and then having these little epiphanies. I remember
Like,
you
oh
going,
my God, we have an idea.
Like,
It's like a light bulb going off.
and then, because I remember that's also how we thought we prepped the whole set, thinking about how can our poems communicate with one another. And then the final thread, like the joint piece, was just like a perfect illustration of it as well. So yeah, it was a beautiful process.
So firstly, like I love there was that interconnection, that back and forth, that call and response. I don't know what you guys call it, but like I am this, but I am this. Like that I am all and I am nothing. That was beautiful. It kind of reminded me of like people think that a circle has no sides, but a circle actually has infinite sides. Because if you keep adding sides to a shape, like a triangle becomes a square becomes. Don't let me get into shapes. I mean, you add enough sides, eventually it becomes a circle because it's infinite. But then the circle has none. Like, it's so mind blowing, and I think that kind of reminded me of that back and forth. And then the second thing is you guys kind of touched on it. Because I do a poetry event called Double or Nothing, where I'm encouraging poets to kind of collaborate with each other. And sometimes on paper it seems like it makes sense, and then the poets will, because I've approached many poets, and they go try and do the thing, and sometimes it doesn't work. But it seems like a good idea on paper, and then sometimes you get two people that seem like they don't, the chemistry wouldn't mesh on paper, but it actually does. Like, for you guys, when you guys were, obviously you said it was a bit difficult at the beginning, but then when was the moment where it kind of clicked for you guys?
When we wrote or performed?
When you were writing it.
Oh yeah, trying to remember the thread. I know we went from it's actually something that Nyla wrote down. Let me find it again. The glass one, you know.
Yes. So basically, one of the lines in the poem, it just came to me like before I was going to bed, which happens a lot. And I know it happens to a lot of poets, like where you just like are about to go to sleep and suddenly you have a line like, should I get out of bed and write this, or should I just let it go? Because I know if you don't write it, you're going to forget it. But this one, for some reason, just like, I was like, I have to write this down. They could be stuck inside the glass and still they would not question the difference between life and death. And I looked at it the next morning and was like, what the fuck does this mean? What does it mean? But I just knew I had to write it down. And then I told George about it, and then we started like analysing this line, like trying to figure out what the hell I'm on about. And the piece just kind of came from there.
Yeah, I remember you saying, I don't know what to do with this line, but I want it to be in the piece. How do we work around that? And I think that was the perfect like building block, I suppose. Because it's the idea of like the duality between life and death.
Yeah.
It started, I think, is that how it prompted us to think about duality in general?
Yeah, so duality is quite a strong theme. And would you say that was kind of like the cornerstone of the piece, like, and then you then build outwards from that?
I think I remember having an idea, but I thought it'd be tricky. Is that it could have been, I don't know if it's something that you could do. You know, when you ask questions, or you have like mini interviews with people, and then you write from there. It's like, I think I suggested us asking each other questions. But I love how it turned out to be completely different. Like, we ended up writing together. There was a lot of togetherness in that, because we had a writing session to do it. And I remember how we were also quite patient with moments when it was difficult and we just couldn't open the poem.
Yeah.
But each time we had breakthroughs, that's how we gained momentum. And I feel like it also happened in the performance, where we needed to like become comfortable, and then as we went, the flow, it was quite natural as well. It was beautiful.
I'm kind of curious, like, was there other pieces that you guys started and didn't finish, and what happened to those?
Oh, like we wrote for...
Yeah, for this, the piece that you were trying to do together, there must have been bits of things that you discarded that could have been poems, or...
We didn't actually discard much.
I think we left...
We rewrote lines.
Yeah. I think we added some stuff eventually. So I know you came with I can't remember what the first line was. I am a poet, but I am tied to silences. I can't remember if you came up with that one first. And then we went from there, like we built them, like we repeated the lines.
Yeah, we kind of thought having a structure of like, I am, we are, transitioning into that,
And then it just came naturally. And I feel like because we kept the lines short and dynamic, like we didn't have to overthink it, it was quite...
But also we didn't put any pressure on ourselves. I think this is the thing, like if two poets collaborate, there's a pressure there to produce something. But we were like, well, if we don't produce anything, we don't produce anything, isn't it? You know.
We thought even we scratched out the idea of bringing unfinished work or things you're working on. Like we didn't even need to finish it, because we thought it's an open conversation. That's one of the lines as well. So it was quite. So I think that was liberating, because it goes with the the pressure of finishing a piece. I don't know if you get that. There's like a tension where you don't know how to finish it. But as soon as you get rid of that, I think the endings or the poem kind of writes itself quite naturally.
I think that's what you guys said. It should be advice to the poets that are trying to collaborate, because obviously with Double or Nothing, because it's like the goal is to perform it at the open mic or to be a headliner. I think there's that pressure, whereas like this, there's devil may care. I don't know if that's the right expression, but it's like c'est la vie, innit? C'est la vie. In my culture, it's called Balhalana. It's like, you know, live and let God, whatever. I love that you had that kind of like carefree essence to it, and I think that is probably the key to you guys working so well together, and just like this whole night, just like Lisa said, like discovering, I'm finding out more about you guys through your poetry in this setting, you know, compared to all the open mics I've seen you guys at, and like Lisa said, thank you for giving us these pieces. Like these are truly gifts. Like to just sit here and just like listen to poetry, and especially like poetry that like just kind of like arrows to the heart. Like that's something you can't buy. Like, you know, I can't get that at the theatre. I can't get that anywhere. Like, so you can only get it here. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having set in the space. Like, thank you for hosting the space. Like, also give Beth a round of applause for that. Beautiful.
And I want to be a sample of that.
Yeah, I'm wowed. I am absolutely wowed. And I'm going to take this opportunity, since we have you here with us, to just try and probe your brains for all they're worth. Nyla, what have you learned about George over the course of tonight? Or what have you discovered about George over the course of this evening?
I mean, I feel like I've always kind of known this, but like George has really projected it tonight, where there's a gentleness, but there is a courage behind the poetry. Because I haven't known George for as long as other poets, but we've connected very quickly. And like, honestly, like you're one of my closest friends that I have. And like, we've really like bonded through this journey together. So yeah, I feel like now we're a lot closer, and like we know each other a lot more. Like I read the poems before, but just hearing them is so different. And I felt like even just like listening to your voice, like that in itself just tells me so much about who you are, and like the way you view the world in like such a caring, loving manner.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Let me also leave this. Oh, thank you so much.
And George, what have you discovered about Nyla over the course of this evening?
That was a slow digest. Sorry.
I know I've thrown it to you at an emotional moment.
This is hilarious that I would project or say the same about your work, like the tenderness. What do you say it? There's tenderness and there's courage. I feel like it just makes me think how how poetry is quite similar, that we tend to speak up or find the courage to approach things that are difficult. And that means that we both have a lot of resilience. We've got resilient as people, I feel.
For me, I feel like we're walking through a dark tunnel, but it's okay because there's a light around us, and we can ignore the rest.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think I remember I think inviting that because we only met up at open mics before. I don't remember met up outside.
Yeah.
So it was one of the first occasions where we said, let's sit down and write together. Meaning like, let's sit down and hang out and like spend time to get to know each other.
Yeah.
And I remember I got like really curious to know your background, to know where your poetry comes from, and it made me ask more questions and get to know you better.
Yeah.
So like that piece is just like an example of what I feel is important in our relationship, to just be open and like be caring.
And I think that's another thing about poets collaborating, is that I think what worked for us is that we started connecting on a personal level, because we started hanging out outside of poetry, and like I would love to do this with more poets. Like I don't know who they are outside of poetry. I just want to like go for a coffee with people, you know. And if you try and force yourself to write a poem with someone, you're writing with them as a poet and not as a person. Should we write a guidebook for this?
Ultimately. Part 2.
Get to know your poets.
Yeah, and that actually leads me to ask, you led right into it, but what do you think the key to your special bond is? Because you've got a very special friendship, a very special relationship as collaborators, as artists, so on that professional artistic level, but clearly on that personal friendship level as well. And in a world which often is geared towards competitiveness and competition. Why are you guys such good friends, and why are you such good collaborators?
Because I want to stick. I think, do you say that we're both nature lovers, like we're quite in tune with the environment? I think we have this nurturing quality that we tend to like give each other just love and care freely. And that, I think, coming from a poetry background, you know how poets are like really open and honest. I feel like that's also, it's interesting that you said getting to know a poet on a personal level is how you open or you connect to their poetry better as well.
Yeah.
So I felt that was such a groundbreaking experience just for that.
Yeah.
But if you feel like, it's changed, or it's brought you, what would you say it's brought you? Sorry, I'm twisting the question. Yeah.
You guys just talk.
Like, how would you say like the poetry mirrored your experience or your sense of identity? Because I feel that's what the last piece touched on as well, like identity through otherness as well. Don't know if that changed the question a bit.
Do you mean like this poem, or like the one that we just did?
I'm trying to, maybe the whole set as well.
I don't know, I feel like some people are you're just meant to be friends with them, like you're meant to meet each other because you have like similar ways of thinking or like similar paths. So for some people it's just going to be more natural than others. But also I think we're also very open to each other and like accepting of each other. And you don't always get that with friendships, to be honest. Like maybe people don't accept you for who you are. So I'm glad that there's this openness and kind of almost like a lightheartedness about it.
Yeah, that's what comes through in your answer, which is also what came through in your poetry. You seem to have a very deep spirituality. Would you like to talk about that?
Oh, true. Yeah.
I didn't know that, to be honest.
Oh, well, I mean, to me, that's what comes through. Similarly, in the last piece as well, and maybe it's just the way I see things, but there very much is that duality. George, your line had it as well, the colours in the black.
Yeah, I'm coloured by black.
Yeah, and the meta in your, what you were saying about the circle as well, has infinite sides, but it also has no sides. It's the duality, it's the form and the emptiness. And that, to me, that really comes through, but I guess. And then also just how connected you are to nature. Both of you, you're both so connected to nature. So this is a question to the both of you. What is your spirituality? And I'm not asking what your religion is, but what do you live for? What comes?
I was going to say, like, I definitely would want to touch on faith, if that's okay with you to discuss. Like, I told a lot of friends I did Ramadan this year. It was the first time I did that. And it's really hard to, because I'm digested it. It's only been, less than a month now. But it strengthened my spirituality and my faith, even though I would not call myself Muslim. I just found so much peace and beauty through that. And I think that's also because we touched on that when we did our first writing session. So I feel maybe that's something we also have in common. It's making you think, you touched on spirituality, and it's probably why our connection is quite profound as well because of that.
Yeah, and I mean, and the way how your pieces are so timeless and so classic, and that they are greater than the timeline we're living in now. And there is very much this strong presence of source and, the thing that makes us live and the life force that's running through us. And that's why I was wondering that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say I'm kind of spiritual in a way because, like, I like to interact with, like, the philosophies of different religions and, like, how they practice things. And I think that really helps me, like, because earlier we were talking about, like, politics and how, like, how I try and navigate these things. And for me, it's like the more I engage with like the more spiritual side or like the more religious side, I not in a bad way, but like I don't deep it as much, like the world that we're living in, because like the way I see it is like it's temporary and the world is so much bigger than us, the universe is so much bigger than us. So I think that's where it comes from, and it's hard for me to explain it, but it comes through in my poetry because, like, for me, I don't want to dwell on things too much that are temporary. even if for us it's like, oh my God, this like big thing is happening and like it's really going to impact our lives, but also like the universe is a lot bigger than us and like we are eventually going to like die and like not in a morbid way, but it's like you don't need to think so deeply about this thing that actually doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like it's unintentional for you because as you're speaking, I'm hearing like almost Buddhist philosophies kind of coming through, or like kind of things that I've heard in almost like Stoic as well. Like you're quite you speak in a very spiritual way, but I think it's just like you're talking about kind of detachment and the transience of time and things. It's really interesting to hear it come through, and it's just such a part of, you know, your intrinsic nature, and not in a affected way. Yeah, that's amazing. And I also wonder as well, did either of you face any kind of challenges or obstacles along the journey of, I guess, coming to this point where we are today? And how is it that you have overcome them? And what kind of did you use to overcome them in coming here today?
Well, in terms of how we prepared the set, or just in general?
Yeah, I mean, it could be through the pieces that you read, or the writing, or the performing. But, you know, poetry often is quite an up and down journey. And there's so much emotion in your poetry, you know. So, I guess I wonder, like, what is it that kind of helped you to overcome the challenges that you faced over the course of performing or writing it?
I feel like I don't know if you wanted. I feel like I know personally, because I'm thinking about the Myth of the Blade, the piece about the novel, to know that you reacted so beautifully to, I was going to make me emotional all of a sudden to say, the fact that you received it with so much love, it gave me more incentive to like write it, because I know it, because so hard to explain. It's such a heavy piece. There's so much research I need to do that I barely touched the surface of it. But to know that it was safe in your hands, like the way you just gave it so much power, and it gave me more incentive to just. Yeah. And when you speak about courage a lot, like it gave me a lot of courage to know it's precious and that it could be, and also to know that you were so open with how it felt emotionally. That you also saying that you had to put the poem down because it was so much. Because it's also like how I feel about writing it, because it's like my baby is so precious to me. So I feel like that's what I say about poets, people collaborating, is we need to keep encouraging each other to keep writing. And it's also one of the last line in the Mother poem, is that means so much, that these obstacles you get to face because other people give you that strength, give you that power. So I feel like collaboration is the way to overcome the obstacle. I don't know if you agree with that. Yes. It got really emotional right there, but yeah.
I do really hear that, and there is so much power in actually sharing power. It's like sometimes we have high energy, and when we have high energy, we can share that. And then when there's times that we have low energy or things are tiring or difficult, when we have a beautiful community and beautiful collaborators, we can share the energy of those around us who have more. Again, it's that kind of duality, is the balance. And then I guess just to close this evening, do either of you have a mantra or words that you repeat to yourself, or a life philosophy that you'd like to share? And it could just be a word.
Every day during meditation, I just say, God is guiding me and he's on my side.
Wow.
She's like taking notes.
I joined in 15 minutes.
God is guiding me. And you're also your own guide.
He's on my side.
Oh, he's on my side. There you go. I think there's also, it makes me think of, as a poet, the more, this is like going wild and chaotic, the more you trust yourself to be, you're your own guide, and you have this divine, like this sacred power inside you. You could also say, it makes me want to say, I am guiding myself through my own work, and I am trusting myself, which is a way of saying God is guiding me as well. So there's this kind of synergy. I realise how we're so deeply spiritual. It's something I've actually rediscovered through your feedback as well. So thank you so much.
There's such a strong, but then ultimately, love and God are so, they're set. I mean, depending on how you think or feel, some people see them as the same, and love and God are so present in both of your work, in all of the pieces that you've read tonight. But yeah, the last thing I can say is just thank you so much. Thank you for tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for blessing us with your pieces and your
I don't know
presence.
if you wanted to add anything as well. We going to continue. Oh, bless. Thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you. Just thank you. Thank you to Lisa for just like putting those questions to you. I can never
Best
put
host,
those
best
questions.
host.
I think you added a different, because we've been to different scratch stats, and I think this is definitely sets it apart from the other scratch stats in that, like, the way you kind of gave your input and your feedback. So it was very much cherished and appreciated.
You're part of Scratch, so you need to come every single time.
Like, I'm sure. I think the way you gave people grace, the features, and just made them feel like, you know, like they are, you know, they're the shit. You know,
Yeah.
I was gonna think like you gave them grace and that you made them feel welcome, but yeah, they're doing shit, they're killing it. Like, you are killing it, by the way. Like, every piece, like, it was amazing, whether they're finished or not. I can't wait to hear more from the branch of your poetries, as you kind of do more, and what you leave on the leaves.
Okay, you just can't
Sorry, no. It's just it's the whole forest situation. That they had forests in both their poems. So yeah, like forest. I can't stop poeting. So just a round of applause kind of thing. Yeah. So round of applause for everyone, please. Yay. Turn around. Yeah.
Can I give you a hug, please?
Oh, yeah. Cool.